In addition to Scizor landing later tonight, be sure to stop by here again about 7:30 p.m. Central for a live stream checking out Scyther and Scizor. We've also got a much needed balanced patch for Pokemon Unite. This patch not only includes nerfs to the obvious menaces that have been plaguing us for a long while now, it also includes buffs to really underplayed Pokemon, as well as changes to the map itself. Let's go ahead and dive on into the details here and take a look. To start with, there's less experience in the central area. The buff Pokemon here now match the experience values on the previous remote stadium, and the Zaytu gives a little bit less experience as well. Altaria also gives slightly less Eos energy than before. The top path has also been changed slightly here, and the bottom as well. Objectives have been corrected. So Regice was thought of as useless. That's because it was broken. I think this will probably make this objective worth split pushing in a lot of cases. I don't think any of the Regis are worth rotating your team to, but I think leaving one or maybe two people down there matching the opposing team is worthwhile to try and secure these objectives for your team. The perhaps biggest change to the map is Rayquaza's health has been decreased, and it says it seems similar to what Zapdos was previously. This is a big change. So it was near impossible to just rip a Rayquaza off the map in the end game engagements, and changing its health total to be similar to Zapdos means that's going to be an option again. It is worth noting that like taking Rayquaza and getting the buff from it doesn't guarantee your scores like Zapdos does, but we might see some more flip focused engagements at the end, trying to get that shield and beeline it for the base to try and get your energy in the goals. Pursuit has a small buff decrease from 5 seconds down to 3. Aegislash has its damage reduced on its Shadow Sneak. This doesn't surprise me too much. Shadow Sneak's always been subtly really powerful last hitting mechanic early, and you don't keep this skill for a long time anyway, so I don't envision this being a huge change for Aegislash, especially if you're playing it in the central area anyways. Iron Head now gets additional cooldown reduction when it blocks an attack. Perhaps we'll have to explore that again. That was my preferred skill in Aegislash for a while, and perhaps it can be again. Azumarill might be the biggest winner from this patch. It just got the full downpull upgrade on everything that it does. It evolves a level sooner, it gets all of its skills and skill upgrades a level sooner, and it gets its Unite move a level sooner. And getting the Unite move a level sooner is massive on Azumarill, because Azumarill has one of the faster Unite recharges in the game, and once you unlock this Unite move, you can use it once every 60 seconds almost if you're clearing a little bit of wild Pokemon and have an energy amp on. I'm excited to play with this character. The play patterns of it are some that I've always enjoyed, even if the character was undertuned, and I think with these changes, it could possibly not be undertuned anymore. Blastoise, speaking of characters that I like, also getting a bunch of strict upgrades here. So all of Blastoise's early game has been made strictly better, with perhaps this being the most notable here, cast speed increase. So Skull Bash is a dash attack that has a pretty good range, and with a shorter windup, it'll be sweeter than before. Speaking of things that are shorter, Surf gets a cooldown reduction from 12 down to 10 seconds, and the Unite move getting reduced from 112 down to 100 seconds. Perhaps a character I'd like to explore Energy Amplifier on as well to press that button even more frequently. Buzzwole, one of the worst performing characters in the previous patch, getting some much needed stat upgrades here in the early game. It looks like they scaled it up more early. We have a 15 increase at level 1, while we actually are exactly the same at level 15. I think that makes a lot of sense. The early game on this character is definitely where it struggled. In addition to the stat increases, we also got strict upgrades to Mega Punch, Smackdown, Fell Stinger, and Leech Life. Just bigger numbers for everything right across the board. Charizard getting a cooldown reduction on Fire Punch. Seismic Slam now grants hindrance resistance instead of unstoppable. And so this is something interesting, I think that was noted here too. Now treats hindrance resistance as unstoppable. So you can no longer use a lot of these skills that would grab things on hindrance resistance, which is actually a pretty big downgrade to things like Charizard. This change happened to Zarina as well in this patch. That's very notable. You're going to have to be extra careful with these skills again around Pokemon that can gain this hindrance resistance skill. Cramorant nerf might seem a little bit odd on the surface, but if you're someone that's been keeping up with the metagame stats on Unite API, Cramorant with Aegislash has actually been one of the best performing characters in the previous patch, even with all of the overtuned characters, so this is definitely a very reasonable decrease. Hex Gengar got a little bit of a range decrease, which is a big deal. Glaceon here, cooldown going from 6 seconds to 6.5 seconds. This might seem like a small thing, but it's important to note that this half-second cooldown, in combination with the fact that the blue buff only gives 10% cooldown reduction now, means it's going to be more difficult than ever to always keep those 8 shards up when you're jumping around the map with Icy Wind. This likely means that Shell Bell, Energy Amp, and Black emblems are not going to be optional on this character, even if you're in the central area, so you can try and keep that Icy Wind up as frequently as possible so your burst damage can stay high. Small bug fix here for Greedent. Mew's boosted attacks now only do 6.5% per distance threshold as opposed to 9. This is a really minimal buff. I expect Mew to still be absolutely cracked in the right hands, not touching any of its attacks, especially Solar Beam. Speaking of cracked, and not the right hands, but any hands, Mr. Mime is getting a big change here. So much less damage here, with honestly the most notable change here, the ratio, which means how much this scales off of your special attack stat, is going way down. This means all of those Mimes that have been stacking special attack, if they're doing that, they're going to see a bigger decrease than other Mimes on a skill that's already just getting its damage nerfed. Power Swap. The slow is being cut in half, so it'll be a little bit easier to get away from a Mime that's getting up on top of you with Power Swap. Slowbro getting a similar treatment to Blastoise here, getting pretty much a bunch of strict upgrades. Water Guns dealing more damage than before at every charge. Surf is getting a cooldown reduction. Telekinesis is getting a cooldown reduction. The Unite move is getting a cooldown reduction. Slowbro mains Rejoice. This character is strictly better than it was moments before. Bug fix for Sylveon. That's actually kind of a downgrade for Eevee, but you're not Eevee for very long on that character anyway, so you probably won't feel that. Kind of a little sad to not see any Mystic Fire buffs in this patch. I think that skill's definitely struggled. Bug fix for Zarina under a weird condition, and the Queen's Ascendance here. This is the Unite move again, similar to Charizard, can no longer be used on hindrance resistance things. Wigglytuff getting some strict upgrades. I like that they're addressing all of the defenders that saw less play. Slowbro, Wiggly, Blastoise, these were all characters that really underplayed or had medium win rates, and they're all getting strict upgrades. And it looks like their go-to upgrades for these characters are making the Unite move recharge faster, which is great, and then just giving them some number ups. Whew! That was over 8 minutes of just talking through changes. I think most all of the balance changes seem good. I think I would have liked to see a little bit more power come out of Mew's kit, but I think the changes to Mime and Glaceon both seem reasonable and good. I think the only thing I'm a little bit apprehensive about in this list of changes overall is the Rayquaza health decrease. I've really liked how the endgame situations tend to play out in Pokemon Unite with the new map with the thicker Rayquaza, and if those change, I'm going to be a little bit sad, but maybe the health decrease just means there's going to be more priority on teams to be in the pit right away, which is definitely something that it didn't feel like you needed to do previously, and they want to kind of pull people in for those endgame team fights. I think is something that's definitely a goal in Pokemon Unite. At any rate, what do you think of the patch notes? Do you think they really missed on anything? Is there something else you would have liked to see added in? Let me know in the comments down below. And remember, set your clock, 7:30 p.m. Central tonight, which is about 10 hours from when I am posting this video live on the channel. We will be live here at youtube.com/Oaklandia checking out Scyther and Scizor, who's the first Pokemon coming to the game that optionally evolves. You could choose to say Scyther throughout the entire game or play as Scizor, and the attacks, the Unite moves work slightly different with that character depending on which path you take, and I'm excited to explore both of those this evening.